Aloha, beautiful light family. I feel to share with you something that's been really pivotal on my journey that may support you as well. Um, you know, in the old 3D world, we created these facades, right? These barriers of protection to kind of keep people away, um, in like a protective mechanism, as a protective mechanism. And one thing that I've noticed is when we're willing to admit to ourselves and acknowledge to ourselves that those were just facades, that those weren't real, it's like those facades can come crashing down and we no longer have to work so hard to like keep them up, to keep this like facade, this illusion of like a happy life or a conscious life. It's like when I finally admitted that, I had an effed up childhood, as most of us, all of us have, it created this like inner freedom of like, oh, like I can breathe. I feel relieved. I no longer have to keep pretending. I no longer have to keep this like illusion, this facade of trying to like convince everyone that I had this like idyllic childhood, that for some reason I was carrying this story and this belief. It's just an ego belief of like it made me less than or not good enough if I didn't have like an idyllic childhood, right? And so many of us have had a lot of different distortions or traumas or effed upness in our childhood. And for me, for just admitting that to myself and then admitting it to someone else and then admitting it to like a group of people was like really pivotal on my journey of no longer needing to pretend anymore, of just being like real and honest and raw. It feels like it was like one of those last sort of barriers or facades that came crashing down inside, kind of like a wrecking ball. And I'm hearing that song play, and it played sort of when I was going through the experience. But there's a song about a wrecking ball. And it felt like this like collapse inside of my body. And it was just those old facades, those old barriers, those old protective mechanisms inside that just collapsed and just fell down and like tore apart inside, just like a building being demolished with like a wrecking ball hitting it and being demolished. That's kind of how I felt inside. And it's so freeing because when we can demolish the old facades within ourselves, when we can tear it down, look it in the eye, stare it in the face, and say, so what? So what? I had an effed up childhood. So what if it wasn't, idyllic? It doesn't make me less than. It doesn't make me worse. It doesn't make me whatever stories my ego created. So I'm sharing this with you in case you've been holding on to some belief, some story, some facade that you weren't willing or ready to admit to yourself. Admit it, acknowledge it, see it, face it, and let it go. No one cares, right? The funny thing is other people can see it. It's just that we weren't willing to admit it. And when we no longer have to hold up those barriers, those facades, we can put our energy into that which creates a new reality, not that holds in place an old effed up illusion or facade. That makes sense, right? So what we put our energy and focus into creates. And so if we're putting our energy into that which creates and that which holds the old in place, that's the reality that we're going to get. But if we are willing to intentionally and consciously tear the old down inside of us, the old limits, the old barriers, the old facades, the old restraints, the old constraints, the old illusions, the old everything, when we're willing to really face it and admit it and acknowledge it and then let it dissolve within us, then it's like we demolish it inside and we have the space to focus on creating the new. Right? All new ways, all new beliefs, all new habits, all new systems, all new tools, all new creations, all new projects, all new realities, right? And so may this be an invitation for you to really take sort of a good look in the mirror and see where you've been holding the old in place inside of you, where you've been holding on to stories or beliefs or facades that aren't true or that hold the old in place. And how can you intentionally and consciously tear it down, bust through, break through, demolish it, dissolve it inside, so that you can put all of your energy and focus into creating a whole new world that supports new earth consciousness, values, and systems and ways. So I hope sort of my little experience supports you in going inside and looking at your own world and seeing how you can do this consciously as well. I love you.